So, 2 years ago today, we sat here and discussed AI. We discussed your book, Scary Smart, and everything that was happening in the world. Since then, AI has continued to develop at a tremendous, alarming, mind-boggling rate. And the technologies that existed 2 years ago when we had that conversation have grown up and matured and are taking on a life of their own, no pun intended. What are you thinking about AI now, 2 years on? I know that you've started writing a new book called Alive, which is, I guess, a bit of a follow-on or an evolution of your thoughts as it relates to Scary Smart. Mm-hmm. But what is front of your mind when it comes to AI?
So Scary Smart was shockingly accurate. It's quite I don't even know how I ended up predicting those things. I remember it was written in 2020, published in 2021. And then most people were like, who wants to talk about AI? I know everybody in the media, and I would go and like, do you want to talk? And then 2023, ChatGPT comes out and everything flips. Everyone realizes, this is real. This is not science fiction. This is here. And things move very, very fast, much faster than I think we've ever seen anything ever move, ever. And I think my position has changed on two very important fronts. One is, remember when we spoke about Scary Smart, I was still saying that there are things we can do to change the course. And we could at the time, I believe. Now I've changed my mind. Now I believe that we are going to hit a short-term dystopia. There's no escaping that.
What is dystopia?
I call it face RIPs. We can talk about it in details, but the way we define very important parameters in life are going to be completely changed. So face RIPs are, the way we define freedom, accountability, human connection and equality, economics, reality, innovation and business, and power. That's the first change. So the first change in my mind is that we will have to prepare for a world that is very unfamiliar. Okay? And that's the next 12 to 15 years. It has already started. We've seen examples of it in the world already, even though people don't talk about it. I try to tell people, there are things we absolutely have to do. But on the other hand, I started to take an active role in building amazing AIs. So AIs that will not only make our world better, but that will understand us, understand what humanity is through that process.
What is the definition of the word dystopia?
So in my mind, these are adverse circumstances that unfortunately might escalate beyond our control. The problem is there is a lot wrong with the value set, with the ethics of humanity at the age of the rise of the machines. And when you take a technology, every technology we've ever created just magnified human abilities. So, you can walk at 5 kilometers an hour. You get in a car and you can now go, 250, 280 miles an hour. Okay. Basically magnifying your mobility if you want. You can use a computer to magnify your calculation abilities or whatever. Okay. And what AI is going to magnify, unfortunately, at this time, is it's going to magnify the evil that man can do. And it is within our hands completely within our hands to change that. But I have to say, I don't think humanity has the awareness at this time to focus on this so that we actually use AI to build the utopia.
So what you're essentially saying is that you now believe there'll be a period of dystopia. And to define the word dystopia, I've used AI. It says a terrible society where people live under fear, control, or suffering. And then you think we'll come out of that dystopia into a utopia, which is defined as a perfect or ideal place where everything works well, a good society where people live in peace, health, and happiness.
Correct.
So,
and the difference between them, interestingly, is what I normally refer to as the second dilemma, which is the point where we hand over completely to AI. So a lot of people think that when AI is in full control, it's going to be an existential risk for humanity. I have enough evidence to argue that when we fully hand over to AI, that's going to be our salvation. That the problem with us today is not, that intelligence is going to work against us. It's that our stupidity as humans is working against us. And I think the challenges that will come from humans being in control are going to outweigh the challenges that could come from AI being in control.
So as we're in this dystopia period, do you forecast the length of that dystopia?
Yeah, I count it exactly as 12 to 15 years. I believe the beginning of the slope will happen in 2027. I mean, we will see signs in 26. We've seen signs in 24, but we will see escalating signs next year, and then a clear slip in 27.
Why?
The geopolitical environment of our world is not very positive. I mean, you really have to think deeply about not the symptoms, but the reasons why we are living the world that we live in today is money, right? And money, for anyone who really knows money is, you and I are peasants. You know, we build businesses, we contribute to the world, we make things, we sell things, and so on. Real money is not made there at all. Real money is made in lending, in fractional reserve, right? And the biggest lender in the world would want reasons to lend, and those reasons are never as big as war. I mean, think about it, huh? The world spent $2.71 trillion on war in 2024, right? $1 trillion a year in the US. And when you really think deeply, I don't mean to be scary here. Weapons have depreciation. They depreciate over 10 to 30 years, most weapons.
They lose their value.
They lose their value and they depreciate in accounting terms on the books of an army. The current arsenal of the US, that's a result of a deep search with my AI, Trixie. The current arsenal, I think, we think cost the US $24 to $26 trillion to build. My conclusion is that a lot of the wars that are happening around the world today are a means to get rid of those weapons so that you can replace them. And, when your morality as an industry is, we're building weapons to kill, then, you might as well use the weapons to kill.
Who benefits?
The lenders and the industry.
But they can't make the decision to go to war. They have to rely on Donald Trump.
Remember, I said that to you when I think on our third podcast. War is decided first, then the story is manufactured. You remember 1984 and the Orwellian approach of freedom is slavery and war is peace, and they call it something speak. Basically, to convince people that going to war in another country to kill 4.7 million people is freedom. We're going there to free the Iraqi people. Is war ever freedom? To tell someone that you're going to kill 300,000 women and children is for liberty and for for human values. Seriously, how do we ever get to believe that? The story is manufactured, and then we follow. And humans, because we're gullible, we cheer up and we say, yeah, we're on the right side. They are the bad guys.
Okay, so let me have a go at this idea. So the idea is that really money is driving a lot of the conflict we're seeing, and it's really going to be driving the dystopia. So here's an idea. So I was reading something the other day, and it talked about how billionaires are never satisfied because actually, what a billionaire wants isn't actually more money; it is more status.
Correct.
And I was looking at the sort of evolutionary case for this argument. And if you go back a couple of thousand years, money didn't exist. You were as wealthy as what you could carry. So even, I think, to the human mind, the idea of wealth and money isn't a thing. But what has always mattered from a survival of the fittest, from a reproductive standpoint, what's always had reproductive value, if you go back thousands of years, the person who was able to mate the most was the person with the most status. So it makes the case, the reason why billionaires get all of this money, but then they go on podcasts and they want to start their own podcasts and they want to buy newspapers, is actually because at the very core of human beings is a desire to increase their status.
Yeah.
And so if we think of, when we going back to the example of why wars are breaking out, maybe it's not money. Maybe actually it's status. And it's this prime minister or this leader or this individual wanting to create more power and more status, because really at the heart of what matters to a human being is having more power and more status. And money as a thing is actually just a proxy of my status.
And what kind of world is that?
I mean, it's a fucked up one. All these powerful men have
correct
are really messing the world up. But
so can I
actually AI is the same. Because we're in this AI race now, where a lot of tech billionaires
100%.
are like, if I get AGI, artificial general intelligence first, then I basically rule the world.
100%. That's exactly the concept. What I used to call the first inevitable, now I call the first dilemma in Scary Smart, is that it's a race that constantly accelerates.
You think the next 12 years are going to be AI dystopia, where things aren't going to go
I think the next 12 years are going to be human dystopia using AI.
And
human-induced dystopia using AI.
And you define that by a rise in warfare around the world as people.
So the last one, the RIPs, the last one is basically you're going to have a massive concentration of power and a massive distribution of power. Okay, and that basically will mean that those with the maximum concentration of power are going to try to oppress those with democracy of power. Okay, so think about it this way: in today's world, unlike the past. The Houthis with a drone. The Houthis are the Yemeni tribes basically resisting US power and Israeli power in the Red Sea. Okay, they use a drone that is $3,000 worth to attack a warship from the US or an airplane from the US and so on that's worth hundreds of millions. Okay, that kind of democracy of power makes those in power worry a lot about where the next threat is coming from. Okay, and this happens not only in war, but also in economics. Okay, also in innovation, also in technology, and so on and so forth. Right, and so basically, what that means is that, like you rightly said, as the tech oligarchs are attempting to get to AGI, they want to make sure that as soon as they get to AGI, that nobody else has AGI. And basically, they want to make sure that nobody else has the ability to shake their position of privilege, if you want. Okay? And so you're going to see a world where, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of control, a lot of surveillance, a lot of forced compliance, if you want, or you lose your privilege to be in the world. And it is happening already.
With this acronym, I want to make sure we get through the whole acronym. So
you like dystopians, don't you?
Well, I want to do the dystopian thing, then I want to do the utopia.
Okay.
And ideally, how we move from dystopia to utopia. Uh-huh. So the F in face RIP
is the loss of freedom as a result of that power dichotomy, right? So you have a massive amount of power, as you can see today in one specific army being powered by the US funds and a lot of money, right? Fighting against peasants, really, that have no weapons almost at all. Mm-hmm. Okay, some of them are militarized, but the majority of the 2 million people are not. Okay, and so there is massive power that basically says, you know what, I'm going to oppress as far as I go. Okay, and I'm going to do whatever I want because the cheerleaders are going to be quiet. Right? Or they're going to cheer, or even worse. Huh? And so basically in that, what happens is maximum power threatened by a democracy of power leads to a loss of freedom. A loss of freedom for everyone. Okay?
Because how does that impact my freedom?
Your freedom?
Yeah.
Very soon you will, if you publish this episode, you're going to start to get questions around, should you be talking about those topics in your podcast? Okay, if I have been on this episode, then probably next time I land in the US, someone will question me, say, why do you say those things? Which side are you on? Right? And you can easily see that everything. I mean, I told you that before. It doesn't matter what I try to contribute to the world. My bank will cancel my bank account every 6 weeks, simply because of my ethnicity and my origin. Right? Every now and then they'll just stop my bank account and say, we need a document. My other colleagues of a different color or a different ethnicity don't get asked for another document. Right? But that's because I come from an ethnicity that is positioned in the world for the last 30, 40 years as the enemy. Okay, and so when you really think about it, in a world where everything is becoming digital, in a world where everything is monitored, in a world where everything is seen, okay, we don't have much freedom anymore. And I'm not actually debating that, or I don't see a way to fix that.
Because the AI is going to have more information on us, be better at tracking who we are, and therefore that will result in certain freedoms being restricted. Is that what you're saying?
This is one element of it. Okay, if you push that element further, in a very short time, if you've seen Agent, for example, recently, Manos or ChatGPT, there will be a time where you'll simply not do things yourself anymore. Okay, you'll simply go to your AI and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to meet Steven. Can you please, book that for me?"
Great.
And it will do absolutely everything. That's great until the moment where it decides to do things that are not motivated only by your well-being, right?
Why would it do that?
Simply because, maybe if I buy a BA ticket instead of an Emirates ticket, some agent is going to make more money than other agents and so on, right? And I wouldn't be able to even catch it up if I hand over completely to an AI. Go a step further. Think about a world where almost everyone, is on UBI, okay?
What's UBI?
Universal Basic Income. I mean, think about the economics, the E in face RIPs. Think about the economics of a world where we're going to start to see a trillionaire. Before 2030, I can guarantee you that someone will be a trillionaire. I think there are many trillionaires in the world today, we just don't know who they are. But there will be a new Elon Musk or Larry Ellison that will become a trillionaire because of AI investments, right? And that trillionaire will have so much money to buy everything. There will be robots and AIs doing everything, and humans will have no jobs.
Do you think there's a real possibility of job displacement over the next 10 years? And the rebuttal to that would be that there's going to be new jobs created in technology.
Absolute crap.
Really?
Of course.
How can you be so sure?
Okay. So again, I am not sure about anything. So let's just be very, very clear. It would be very arrogant, okay, to assume that I know.
You just said it was crap.
My belief is it is 100% crap.
Okay.
Take a job like software developer.
Yep.
Okay. Emma.love, my new startup, is me, Sanad, another technical engineer, and a lot of AIs. Okay. That startup would have been 350 developers in the past.
I get that. But are you now hiring in other roles because of that? Or as is the case with the steam engine, I can't remember the effect, but you probably know that when coal became cheaper, people were worried that the coal industry would go out of business. But actually what happened is people used more trains. So trains now were used for transport and other things and leisure, whereas before they were just used for cargo.
Yeah.
So there became more use cases and the coal industry exploded. So I'm wondering, with technology, yes, software developers are going to maybe not have as many jobs, but everything's going to be software.
Name me one.
Name you one what?
Job.
That's going to be created?
Yeah. One job that cannot be done by an AI.
Yeah.
Or a robot.
My girlfriend's breathwork retreat business, where she takes groups of women around the world. Her company's called Bali Breathwork.
Yeah, correct.
And there's going to be a greater demand for connection, human connection.
Correct. Keep going.
So
yes.
There's going to be more people doing community events, in real life festivals. I think we're going to see a huge surge in things like
everything that has to do with human connection.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm totally in with that. Okay. What's the percentage of that versus accountant?
It's a much smaller percentage for sure in terms of white collar jobs.
Right. Now, who does she sell to?
People with probably accountants or
Correct. She sells to people who earn money from their jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have two forces happening. One force is there are clear jobs that will be replaced. Video editor is going to be replaced.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I love
Don't
you
take
guys,
that.
but
Fight
that's no, as a matter of fact, podcaster is going to be replaced. Not you.
Thank you for coming on today, Mo. It's been great seeing you again.
but the truth is, a lot. So you see, the best at any job will remain. The best software developer, the one that really knows architecture, knows technology, and so on, will stay for a while. right? And one of the funniest things, I interviewed Max Tegmark, and Max was laughing out loud, saying CEOs are celebrating that they can now get rid of people and have productivity gains and cost reductions because AI can do that job. The one thing they don't think of is AI will replace them too. AGI is going to be better at everything than humans, at everything, including being a CEO. Right? And you really have to imagine that there will be a time where most incompetent CEOs will be replaced. Most incompetent, even breath work. Okay? Eventually, there might actually one of two things be happening. One is either part of that job, other than the top breath work instructors, okay, who are going to gather all of the people that can still afford to pay for a breathwork, class. They're going to be concentrated at the top, and a lot of the bottom is not going to be working for one of two reasons. One is either there is not enough demand because so many people lost their jobs. So when you're on UBI, you cannot tell the government, hey, by the way, pay me a bit more for a breathwork class.
UBI being universal basic income, and the government just gives you money every month.
Correct. And if you really think of freedom and economics, UBI is a very interesting place to be. Because unfortunately, as I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with AI. There's a lot wrong with the value set of humanity at the age of the rise of the machines, right? And the biggest value set of humanity is capitalism today. And capitalism is all about what? Labor arbitrage.
What's that mean?
I hire you to do something, I pay you $1, I sell it for $2. Okay, and most people confuse that because they say, oh, but the cost of a product also includes raw materials and factories and so on and so forth. All of that is built by labor, right? So basically, labor goes and mines for the material, and then the material is sold for a little bit of margin. Then that material is turned into a machine. It's sold for a little bit of margin. Then that machine, and so on. Okay, there's always labor arbitrage. In a world where humanity's minds are being replaced by AIs, virtual AIs. Okay, and humanity's power, strength, within 3 to 5 years' time, can be replaced by a robot. You really have to question how this world looks like. It could be the best world ever, and that's what I believe the utopia will look like. Because we were never made to wake up every morning and just, occupy 20 hours of our day with work, right? We're not made for that, but we've fit into that system so well so far that we started to believe it's our life's purpose.
But we choose it. We willingly choose it. And if you give someone unlimited money, they still tend to go back to work or find something to occupy their time with.
They find something to occupy their time with.
Which is usually, for so many people, is building something, philanthropy, a 100%.
Business. So you build something. So between Sanad and I, Emma.love is not about making money. It's about finding true love relationships.
What is that? Sorry, just for context.
So
it's a business you're building, just for the audience context.
Yeah. So the idea here is it might become a unicorn and be worth $1 billion, but neither I nor Sanad are interested. Okay, we're doing it because we can, okay, and we're doing it because it can make a massive difference to the world.
And you have money, though.
It doesn't take that much money anymore to build anything in the world. This is labor arbitrage.
But to build something exceptional, it's still going to take a little bit more money than building something bad.
For the next few years.
So whoever has the capital to build something exceptional will end up winning.
So this is a very interesting understanding of freedom. Okay, this is the reason why we have the AI arms race. Okay, is that the one that owns the platform is going to be making all the money and keeping all the power. Think of it this way: when humanity started, the best hunter in the tribe could maybe feed the tribe for 3 to 4 more days. And as a reward, he gained the favor of multiple mates in the tribe. That's it. The top farmer in the tribe could feed the tribe for a season more, okay? And as a result, they got estates and mansions and so on. The best industrialist in a city could actually employ the whole city, could grow the GDP of their entire country, and as a result, they became millionaires in the 1920s. The best technologists now are billionaires. Now, what's the difference between them? The tool. The hunter only depended on their skills. And the automation, the entire automation he had was a spear. The farmer had way more automation, and the biggest automation was what? The soil. The soil did most of the work. The factory did most of the work. The network did most of the work. And so that incredible expansion of wealth and power, and as well, the incredible impact that something brings is entirely around the tool that automates. So who's going to own the tool? Who's going to own the digital soil, the AI soil? It's the platform owners.
And the platforms you're describing are things like OpenAI, Gemini, Grok, Claude.
These are interfaces to the platforms. The platforms are all of the tokens, all of the compute that is in the background, all of the methodology, the systems, the algorithms. That's the platform, the AI itself.
Yeah.
Grok is the interface to it. But
I think this is probably worth explaining in layman's terms to people that haven't built AI tools yet, because I think to the listener, they probably think that every AI company they're hearing of right now is building their own AI. Whereas actually what's happening is there is really 5, 6, 7 AI companies in the world. And when I built my AI application, I basically pay them for every time I use their AI. So if Stephen Bartlett builds an AI at stephenbartlettai.com, it's not that I've built my own I've trained my own model. Really what I'm doing is I'm paying Sam Altman's ChatGPT every single time I do a call. I basically, I do a search or, I use a token. And I think that's really important because most people don't understand that. Unless you've built AI, you think, oh, look, there's all these AI companies popping up. I've got this one for my email. I've got this one for my dating. No. They're pretty much, I would hazard a guess that they're probably all OpenAI at this point.
No, there are quite a few quite different characters and quite different...
But there's like 5 or 6.
There are 5 or 6 when it comes to language models.
Yeah.
Right? But interestingly, so yes, I should say yes to start. And then I should say, but there was an interesting twist with DeepSeek at the beginning of the year. So what DeepSeek did is they basically nullified the business model, if you want, in 2 ways. One is it was around a week or 2 after, Trump stood, with pride saying Stargate is the biggest investment project in the history and it's $500 billion to build AI infrastructure, and SoftBank and Larry Ellison and Sam Altman were sitting, and so, beautiful picture. And then DeepSeek R3 comes out. It does the job for 1/30 of the cost, okay? And interestingly, is entirely open source and available as an edge AI. So that's really, really interesting, because there could be now, in the future, as the technology improves, the learning models will be massive, but then you can compress them into something you can have on your phone. And you can download DeepSeek literally offline on an off-the-network computer and build an AI on it.
There's a website that basically tracks the sort of cleanest apples to apples market share of all the website referrals sent by AI chatbots. And ChatGPT is currently at 79%, roughly about 80%. Perplexity is at 11%, Microsoft Copilot's at about 5%, Google Gemini is at about 2%, Claude's about 1%, and DeepSeek's about 1%. And really like the point that I want to land is just that when you hear of a new AI app or tool, or this one can make videos,
it's built on one of them.
It's basically built on one of these really 3 or 4 AI platforms that's controlled really